Hi all. This presentation target is to provide Spring Boot security information while facing entries. Okay. So the Spring Boot security, what it do that will provide the security to the application or to the service. Okay. In general, we feel difficult, right, while working with Spring Boot security or while talking about Spring Boot security. In general, will we feel difficulty? Why we feel difficulty? Even though if you work on the Spring Boot application also, why we feel difficulties means initial stages they won't provide the Spring Boot security framework with application. This is uh, if you talk about the security, this is a high level. People who are provided, who are provided the basic architecture to the application. People who are going to maintain this project at the end, people who are sitting at the client office, people who are running this application from the production, I can say like a decision makers of the product. Those people used to provide this security framework. Okay, so that's the main reason. Even if you work on n number of services, if you work on n number of projects, we may not aware about Spring Boot security because uh, the developers no need to work on Spring Boot security. At the same time, technical leads or team leads or project leads, they no need to work on Spring Boot security. High-end people, people who provided the main architecture to the application, they implement the Spring Boot security. Finally, they integrate that security to the application. That's the main reason uh, we, we may not aware of the Spring Boot security. Sometimes we will feel difficulty, but while facing interview, definitely they used to work. They used to ask Spring about the Spring Boot security. They know these people may not work, may not implemented this Spring Boot security, but how they know actually the depth of the technology, these people aware or not. That's the main reason they used to ask questions on Spring Boot security. I hope this presentation will help uh, to answer whatever the interviewers ask, whatever they expecting from us. Definitely, this the presentation will help us um, to help us to answer each and every question on Spring Boot security. Here, I just provided a overview of Spring Boot security, Spring Security. Spring Security is a powerful and high customizable authentication and access control framework. It is the de facto standard for securing Spring-based applications. Spring Security is a framework that focuses on providing both authentication and authorization to Java applications. Like all Spring projects, the real power of Spring Security is found in how easy it can be extended to meet custom requirements. Okay, the main features the comprehensive and extensible support for both authentication and authorization, um, protection against attacks like session fixation, clickjacking, cross-site request, forgery attacks. Okay, the service API integration, optional integration with the Spring Web MVC. This is all about the Spring security. Generally, what is security? In general, it's a filtering, authorized or not. This area is accessible to this guy or not, right? Wherever this is. Whether suppose if you want to uh, enter any the client area or offices, they need right. They need for security reasons whether this guy authorized or not. Filtering. If that guy not authorized, na, they won't allow. It means like filtering. So application also this site accessible to this user or not. So suppose if anyone wants to access any application, they need credentials, right? User information, username, password, right? So for that username, password, this site is accessible or not. Legacy systems, right? Servlets. If you work with the servlet nowadays, people not working on servlets because the, on the top frameworks constructed, right? So everyone going to work on this frameworks only. So people, new generation people may not understand, may not know the servlets and servlet filters, right? We have servlet filters. That is the basic code, right? What it will do, suppose if any user, any client trying to access that respective site, first they check whether this credentials having this access or not. So if that client credentials having that respective site access, that filters would allow, otherwise they won't allow. So here on the screen you can see the architecture of the Spring Security. So filters only, delegation filters, proxies, all implemented with the servlet only. On the top Spring Security framework implemented. Okay. On the screen we can see the filters. Okay, don't get confused. I just for understanding purpose only, the initial stage itself I just provided this filter information. So the Spring Security, it has API Spring filter chain. Okay, with the help of that Spring filter chain only, we'll filter the application. Okay, we'll provide the authentication of the application. Okay, on the screen we can see right, matching, like mappings, auth slash welcome, auth slash user, auth admin. So for auth welcome, everyone permits. User, that must be authenticated with provided accessible credentials. Admin, that site is authenticated with accessible credentials. So if anyone try to invoke that respective the user endpoint, respective admin endpoint, it won't allow. They need access for that respective users. Okay, this is how they filter. This is how the application filter the credentials and allow access for that respective site. Now I hope you understand what is filter, what it would do, how it would work, right? Here I just provided what are the APIs we are importing to implement the Spring Security in this application. So the main thing is, like enable web security. We need to annotate with the class. Okay, we need to annotate enable web security with the class. Okay, then only we can able to enable the security framework. Okay, user details information. With the help of this APIs, we can add the users. We can add the users. Okay. Security filter chain means that with the help of security filter chain, we'll filter the users and will provide access. Okay. This is the API information of Spring Security. Web Security config is a class annotated with enable web security to enable Spring Security web security support and provide the Spring MES integration. It also exposes two beans to set some specific for the web security configuration. Security filter chain, right? Earlier I explained about the security filter, right? That bean defines which URL path should be secured and which should not. Especially the mappings, endpoint mappings, configured to not require any authentication, configured to not require any authentication, or configured to require any authentication. Spring filter chain API would help to do that two things. Okay. Uh, User detail service being set up, then in memory user store in memory, right? I have imported in memory the API, right? That would help us to store the user information with the help of user detail service bean. Okay. Uh, this is all about the API information of Spring Security. In the PAM, we need to add the dependency, that is Spring Boot Starter Security. So once we add the dependency, so that security Spring Boot security APIs available to implement the Spring Boot security in the application. Here I just provided control information. So uh, so for each and every endpoint, I just define the roles. Okay, based on the roles only, if the user having that respective role, then only they can able to access these endpoints. On the screen, you can see this is class annotated with REST controller. So this is REST API. Okay, we have two endpoints: user profile, admin profile. People who are going to access this endpoint, they need user role access. People who are going to access admin profile endpoint, they need admin role. So here I just annotated with that annotated the endpoints with that respective role. On the screen, you can see, like security config class. uh, annotated with web security, enable web security and enable method security. Okay, this is Java based configuration application. This is Java based configuration class and method. Okay, earlier I said, right, user details and user details service, right? So here we can see how the APIs has used in this application. So we can see like a user details operation, user details service is the operation. There we have two statements. Like we can see like two instances for user details, admin and user. So earlier in the controller we had defined two roles, right, admin and user. So uh, you can see user details. User details is one of the API. So we need to create instance of user details. So user is one of the API. With the help of user, we are providing the user information. Okay. For admin, which user? For admin, which user having which roles? That information we are providing here. Okay. So for one user, we are providing both roles, admin and user. Okay. For another user, we are providing only user role. Okay. If any user try to access that respective endpoint, first they check whether that user having this role or not. So the user having that role, that would allow to access that endpoint. Otherwise, they won't allow, they reject. Okay. So that roles and all we provided here only with the help of user details user. Okay. Finally, we are returning user details service object. Okay. Okay, so I explained, right, in memory user details manager that would help to store the user information. So this is how uh, we use user detail service, user details and user APIs to declare users and to declare user roles in the application. Okay. In the previous slides, I already explained about Spring filters, security filter chains, right? So this is one of the operation under security configuration class. So we need to define that filter, like the which endpoint uh, having general access, which endpoint having restricted access. So that information we need to provide here with the help of security filter chain. On the screen, we can see the default Spring security form. So suppose if you authenticate any application with the help of Spring security, we'll get this page. So okay, that would ask enter user credentials. So based on the declarations, based on the users we have provided in the application, that information you need to enter here. Then only that would allow to access the application pages. Okay. Thanks for watching this presentation. I hope everyone understand Spring Boot security. This is not in depth of the Spring Boot security. Just provided information to remember while facing interviews. Okay. In the coming days, definitely I would provide a complete uh, presentation about Spring Boot security and Spring security. All the best. Thanks.